Hello, students and instructors. This is Dr. Swanson. I'm here with topic 5 in our Go the Extra Mile series. Chapter 5 in our text is called Build It, Will They Come? Persuasion, Creativity, and Newsworthiness. This video builds off that topic. My title for this video is Think Like a Media Gatekeeper. It's important for you as a PR student to understand how the news media work. This is because so much of the work that public relations people conduct has to be disseminated through the media. I'm speaking specifically of the news media, radio, television, newspapers, magazines, but we also need to keep in mind the strong and growing influence of social media, blogs, podcasts, social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and so forth. Professor Whitmer and I realize you probably have not had work experience in a news organization, so you haven't had that hands-on opportunity to learn what it's like to be a news media gatekeeper. When I say gatekeeper, I'm talking primarily about people, the writers, editors, and producers of media content. But gatekeeping also encompasses the processes involved. For example, I worked in television news, and I know from firsthand experience the specific technical and procedural realities of putting together a television newscast. Like, for example, talking heads. Talking heads do not make good TV news. Action makes for good TV news. This is a process step, if you will, or a content and technical reality. It's part of gatekeeping because it helps determine what a good story is for TV news. It's important that public relations people understand gatekeeping, especially when we're trying to reach out to television news producers in hope they will cover a story we're involved with. And even though no doubt you've had some social media experience, you probably have not had high-level social media engagement and analytical experience. So, in many ways, the media industries and how they work on the inside may not be something you fully understand. The point of this chapter is to give you a little taste of that. I could spend an hour talking about how to think like a gatekeeper, but I don't have time for that in this video. So here's a list of recommendations for how to think like a gatekeeper. First of all, when you're intending to send a possible news story to a gatekeeper, understand what kinds of stories that media organization covers. Don't waste your time sending a news release or other promotional material to a news media entity that wouldn't be interested in the first place. Does your college or university have a student newspaper? If it does, it's very unlikely the student newspaper is going to give a lot of attention to stories that are outside of the campus. The primary focus of that publication is on students and their interests, needs, and concerns. It would be unlikely that your student newspaper would be interested in any public relations content about an issue that doesn't involve students on your campus. Think about television at the local level. TV news is visual. If you are a PR person trying to pitch a story idea to your local TV news operation, that story would have to be visual. It would have to be timely. It would have to be very relevant to local audiences. When I worked in TV news, we'd get telephone calls all the time, people asking us to cover local events such as a Boy Scout troop meeting or Girl Scout cookie sales. No offense to either of those groups now, but those are not exciting, compelling, visual stories that are typically told on TV news. Turning to social media, here too, there are gatekeeping realities. Regardless of platform, social media need content that is engaging. It will keep people coming back to see more. The content has to be interesting so that I'll look at it and I won't just scroll past it. It has to be visual and very brief in terms of the textual content, small amounts of text. I have a Facebook post writing assignment in my PR classes where students are to write a post for Facebook. Sometimes students turn in 500 words. Oh my goodness, 500 words? That's much too long for Facebook. Nobody wants to read that. So when you're working on a PR team, and you are, and you want to get the attention of the media, and you probably do, you need to think like media gatekeepers. Spend some time with the media outlets that you hope to pitch story ideas to. Do these media outlets or influencers typically use stories like that? What topics do they communicate about? How do they communicate? You want to pitch story ideas that match the kinds of ideas already being used. And this is true for both traditional and social media. It's also helpful to get in contact with the actual media gatekeepers that you're planning to reach out to. Find out their names and their titles. Get their email addresses and their phone numbers. Pitch to decision makers personally and do so respectfully. Remember, they have no obligation to work with you. They will work with you if you provide story ideas that make their jobs easier. And that's the bottom line. PR people provide newsworthy, interesting information that makes gatekeepers' jobs easier and helps them connect with audiences. Of course, Chapter 5 has much more details than this, so make sure you carefully read the chapter. Ask your instructor for guidance too. Remember, as we've already said, you are transitioning from student to professional. Do everything you can to soak up information that will help you in this transformation. Until next time, keep up the good work.